Hey, my name is James Massey, and today I'm going to be talking about how to get your buyer to make the correct offer whenever they're seeing a house for the first time. So, if you like the information that I'm putting out here today, go ahead and hit like and subscribe to my channel. Okay, so here we go. So, one of the things that I first started doing when I got into real estate, I was taking the buyers out and having them look at properties. And at the time I was working with a lot of first-time home buyers. And what they would end up doing is they were going to the property, they'll see it, and then they'll somewhat like the property, but the biggest thing was, hey, this is my first property, I want to go look at some other stuff, and I'll take them to the other property and I'll take them to another property. And then what ended up happening is I was showing them so many freaking properties that it had gotten to the point where it was kind of overload. And to be honest with you, they forgot about the property that they saw that honestly was the perfect property for them. So one of the things that I started doing is I had to do something different than I was doing before, because it was going to be an issue. You can't be running around showing buyers like 10, 15 properties and expect to make a lot of money in this industry. So what I ended up doing is I started kind of doing, basically a 1 to 10 thing, right? And, my question to them was, all right, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, where do you rank this property? And when I started doing that, what I started noticing is that when they started ranking the property 7s or 8s, that was actually the best property for the particular buyer. So now the thing that I had to do from there is I had to figure out what in the world is going to make me separate that particular buyer so they know that this is the right property for them. So what I started doing is right then and there, after we did the first showing, is I'll take them right back to the office and I'll say, hey, Mr. Buyer, one thing that we need to do is let's go back to the office, because we just looked at 3 properties or 4 properties or however many properties it was. And then let's go ahead and just kind of take an overview look at everything that's out. So now they've already given me a 7 or 8 on the one property. And then, one of the things once we get to the office and what we started doing is we started going over everything. And then we started actually seeing other properties that was out there. So I'm looking at this other property and I'm looking at it online and I'm asking them to rank it. So they're like, oh, that's a 5. Oh, that's an 8. Oh, that's a 6 or 7. Now, if it was an 8, it was something that we would definitely put on a list to go see again. So now we got a list of 8s, right? What is it gonna take for you to get this to a 10? So then they just start describing things. And then when they start describing things of what a 10 looks like, so now 9 times out of 10, a 10 is something that's gonna be out of their price range. You know how this works, right? Everybody wants more than what they can actually afford. So what I started doing at that point is now it's like, okay, well, this is a 10. So you said you wanted this type of kitchen or this type of bathroom, well, this is what it looks like. So now those price points are higher. So what I'm really doing, honestly, is I'm just separating, right? I'm just separating the houses that are on the market to get them to see right then and there at the first time that we're going out, so they can identify exactly what it is that that's best suited for them. I do some things beforehand, just being full transparent. Like, I'm qualifying the buyer from the beginning because I want to know if this particular buyer is somebody that I even want to work with. I do a buyer presentation from the beginning because I want to show them that I'm the expert. But then more so than anything, I want to make sure that this buyer know, like, and trust me. Because if they know, like, and trust you, that's going to be the first step in order to get them into the right path, okay? So now that I've separated them, so now it's time to make an offer, right? So they looked at the 7, 8, to 10, and I asked them about making an offer, and they're ready now to, actually put in the offer. Usually this process takes about either 1 showings or maybe 2 days going out, let me just be straight up. So after that, we're about ready to make an offer. What ends up happening within the whole offer process, just like with anybody else, can we go a bit lower on the asking price? I mean, that's what everybody does, right? They want to do a lower price. And, I don't mind putting in a lower price for anybody. However, sometimes their expectations of a lower price is different than what the market really is for a lower price. What I always do, I never want to position myself or get into a place where I'm in odds with my buyer. So I always want to be on the same side as my buyer. So what I end up doing within that process is I actually talk to the buyer and I say, all right, so what kind of offer were you thinking about putting in? So just kind of throwing out numbers. Let's say the home is like 400,000, right? They want to put an offer in at 380. So they want 20,000 off the price, plus they want another $15,000 in closing costs. Instead of wasting my time and then the buyer's time and then the listing agent's time and actually risk being in odds with my buyer, the first thing that I do is I say, okay, well, I want to show them what the market is showing, right? But even after that, they still sometimes want to put it in. Well, okay, so at that point, what I'm gonna do is like, okay, let's try it. So right in front of them, this is a key thing, I'm telling you, this is a pro tip. Right in front of them, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna put the phone on speaker and I'm gonna call the listing agent. In fact, before I put it on speaker and call the listing agent, I'll let them know. A lot of times these agents don't actually answer the phone, but what I'm gonna do, let's try to see if it'll work. And you have to do this, I'm telling you, because you don't wanna get in odds with your buyer and you wanna actually show that you're actually working for them, especially when you're trying to build rapport. So I'll call them, put it on speakerphone. The listing agent get on the phone and I say, hey, Mrs. or Mr. Listing Agent, I have a buyer right now that's very interested in your property. In fact, we're thinking about putting in an offer. So I'm looking at, if we were to put in an offer at, 380 with $15,000 worth of closing costs, is that something you think your seller would be interested in? I don't say nothing at this particular point because now this listing agent is about to trash this offer. They are gonna like go off, and some of them might even curse at you or curse, throw some curse words in there, which is good. It's great because your buyer's hearing all this stuff, right? So after they finish doing their thing, and I'll say like, okay, well, great. Let me go ahead and talk to my buyer and actually, get back with you. So I get off the phone, I look over at my buyer, the buyer looks over at me. And then from there, what do you think, this is what the buyer says, right? What do you think would be a good offer? See, now they're leaning on my advice, even though I've said, I've showed them the numbers before or what homes sold for. But notice, I didn't say this was a terrible offer. The listing agent said it was a terrible offer, but they heard it. So now we can actually make a real offer. Now they're leaning on my expertise so I can actually put something in that will be accepted by that listing agent. So that's one of the tips that has worked tremendously for me whenever trying to get a buyer, off the fence, one, and then also to make the proper offer. So if you like any of this information, go ahead and hit subscribe and go ahead and like my video. All right. Well, hoping everybody's having a good day. Go ahead and look at some of the other stuff that we've been talking about. Talk to you soon.